So I have to say, when the trailer came out for this movie, I was not interested at all in seeing it. But seeing the final product, there is a big difference between my initial expectation and what I think now. Crazy Rich Asians is a romantic comedy drama directed by Jon M. It's based off the novel of the same name. And right now it's being credited as the first major Hollywood movie to feature a majority Asian cast in the past 25 years. So I want to start there talking about the significance this has had for Asian culture. It's no surprise that minorities usually don't get cast in big budget Hollywood movies. But this is a movie that was so intentional on making sure that this story was told, especially through this culture. It was said a couple weeks ago that Jon M was actually offered a large sum of money to put this movie directly on Netflix, and he didn't want to cave in doing that. He wanted to make sure that this was a movie that was seen by a large audience. At the time, it seemed like a risky move, but seeing how this movie is performing at the box office, that was definitely the right call for him. This movie tells the story of Rachel Chu, who is a New Yorker that follows her boyfriend home to meet his family for the first time in Singapore. So one of the major reasons I love this movie so much is because not only is it a romantic comedy telling a story that we have seen so many times before, but it adds so many layers and character development between not only the two main characters, but all the characters. The struggle in this story doesn't come from Rachel and Nick as they are falling in love, but it comes from Nick's mother as she tries to accept Rachel into the family. As Rachel begins to learn that Nick's family is actually much more rich than he let off, it also becomes a hurdle for them to kind of overcome. So between them coming from different classes, from Nick being Asian to Rachel being Asian American, his mother just doesn't accept her based on kind of those two things alone. I thought it was very interesting that the movie decided to talk about this because it's an issue that you don't really see talked about, at least in film. But Nick's mother comes from a very traditional Asian family, and that's all she really knows. She looks down on Rachel for being American and wanting to pursue her own career without putting her family first. So it adds in all these elements of tradition and family, and how do you balance the two of those? So it really commentates on a lot of issues, such as wealth, social class, tradition, family, Asians or Asian American, and the discussions that they have about it in this movie feel very real and discussions that people have today. So for those reasons, I feel like this pushed the envelope when it comes to just a simple romantic comedy. Sure, it has a lot of the same tropes you'd expect in most movies like this, but the conversation moves past their initial love story and looks at a much bigger picture. Also, the fact that most of this movie takes place in Asia, specifically Singapore, it really creates some very unique visuals and set pieces that we don't always see in movies like this. There were some fantastic shots of just buildings and mountains and islands, all that are in Asia. There's even a lot of close-up shots on food that they're making there, and it just looks really appealing to the eye. There are moments where you're looking at a 30-second shot and it feels like you're watching a documentary on this continent. You can definitely see the director being very intentional on making sure you are aware of what type of movie you're watching. And it's great. Going along with that, another part that I felt they were very intentional on was the music that they chose to put in this film. There's a large variety, from specifically Asian songs to more American songs, but being covered in a genre that makes it sound more Asian. Songs that are in another language completely, but they're cover songs, and you understand the melody, and you can still feel what it's trying to say. It's not often that music is used in such a specific way to convey a message, but in this movie, it really is. And that really adds to the whole movie, because everything about it feels Asian, from the scenery to the sounds to the actors. And for me, I can only speak from an outsider point of view because I'm not Asian. So my experience with this was going in and looking on the inside of a life and culture that I'm not used to. And so for that being my background going in this movie, I think it worked tremendously on me because it made me super interested in what I'm watching. It made me very curious about this culture in general. And it even taught me some things just based on what I saw that I've never seen before. So for the culture element alone, this is a movie worth seeing. But I really believe as a movie itself, it does hold up as well. The acting in this movie is incredible, and it has a long list of stars that you're gonna recognize. The story does go places, and it's actually really funny and touching at the same time. If you were even to take out all the unique cultural elements of this movie, I would still say it stands up as a very unique romantic comedy. This movie really holds its own in that genre, and I do think this is probably one of my favorite romantic comedies, at least in the past 3 or 4 years. They are in talks of setting up a sequel right now, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'm very interested in seeing what kind of story that to tell next. So that's all I got. Crazy Rich Asians. Did you see it? Did you love it? Was it just alright? Let me know what you think. Comment below, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.